What up, YouTube? It's your boy Big Al, right back at you with another tutorial. What we're doing today is we are going to be doing a number 3 on top with a razor fade, done with a straight razor, and finished off with a bronze 9 series. So what we're using right away is we're starting off with our number 3.5 on top. Remember guys, a number 3 Ostra on top is the same as a number 3 plastic. That's why I'm using the metal blade on top. If you don't use metal blades when you get a number 3 on top, guys, you guys are messing up, because the number 3 metal leaves it a lot smoother and a lot nicer looking than a number 3 plastic. When a person asks me for a number 3, I always use my metal number 3. It's just a lot easier to use and it comes out a lot nicer. The machine that I'm using right here is I'm using the Andes BGR3 cordless. If you guys don't have an Ostra, this is a great machine to invest in because it is cordless. So right here we quickly move on to using our Andes Balder to create our first guideline. Remember guys, the Balder is an excellent machine because it eliminates you having to use your trimmer and wasting your trimmer blades. If you feel like you're wasting a lot of money on trimmer blades, guys, it's probably because, you know, when you use a trimmer to make that first guide, you're kind of wasting away your trimmer. Your trimmer only has so much sharpness before it starts losing its dullness. And if you're doing a lot of fades, then you're going to waste a lot of money changing trimmer blades. I used to find myself changing a trimmer blade at least once or twice a month, you know. And now that I use a Balder in this situation right here, it just saves me a lot of money. So right here I start off with my number 2 Ostra. Again, I'm just going right up the side of the crown, up to the top of the crown. Our number 2 Ostra blade. You know, when I fade, I sometimes start off with a certain machine and I move on to other machines. So if you see me switch up, it's just because the way I see the texture of the hair, and I find it that it's easier to go to maneuver this way. So what I'm doing right here is I'm using the number 2 and I'm just basically going around the head because I'm just going around to the top of the crown. Remember, we did a number 3 on top, so a number 2 blends into the number 3. Once I'm done with my number 2, what I did is I put on my number 1 blade and I open up my lever, and that is a 1.5. The 1.5 blends into the metal number 2, as you guys can see right there. And basically I'm just taking down the center bulk of the fade. Once I do that, I lower my lever to a number 1, and now I'm doing the same thing, going up halfway, just lining up the bottom shadow. Once I'm done with that, I grab my machine, my wall, and what I'm doing is I open up the lever to a half and I go all the way across, creating a second guide. Once I go across, I lower my machine a quarter of the way, and I'm just basically hitting the center shadow. Now I close my blade all the way and I'm just dotting the bottom line, just raking the bottom line, trying to get that bottom line out. Now I grab my trimmer and I'm just going to dot the bottom line. And basically I'm just erasing the bottom line so that the bottom of the fade is complete. Once I do that, I move on to my half clip. Lever open, and I'm just basically raking that center shadow that I created when I used my half. As I go across, I lower my lever a quarter of the way and I go across again, the opposite direction. As you can see, I'm just basically focusing on the center shadow. Now I close the machine and I just went across one more time, hitting the center shadow. What I'm doing right here is just doing a little bit of detail work, and I'm going back and focusing on that center, the first guide that I made with a half, and I'm just basically just cleaning it up. As I go across, I open and close my machine as I see fit necessary to eliminate that center shadow. I put the half clip back on, and again, I'm just focusing on the center shadow, trying to blend it out. This is a skill, guys, that is not just developed by watching one video or or watching several videos. This is a skill that's built up by trial and error and just doing numerous haircuts. You know, the more haircuts you do, the better you'll get at fading. So here now we move to the back of the head. And as you guys can see, I switched over to using my 1.5 because I already went with my number 2 all the way around the crown of the head. So I quickly move on to my 1.5 with the lever open, and I'm just going across. It's the one clip with the lever open makes it a 1.5, guys, okay? And I'm just basically going right below where I went with my number 2 Ostra. Because remember, the number 2 blends into the number 1.5. The 1.5 blends into the number 2. So right here now what I did is I took off my clip, put the lever up, which makes it a half, and I'm going across creating a guideline. As I go across, I lower the lever a quarter of the way, and I go across one more time. I'm not going quite as high. Now I got it halfway, and I'm going just halfway up. Now I close my machine, and I'm just basically dotting the bottom of the fade. Now I grab my trimmer again, and I'm just basically raking the bottom line, erasing that bottom line. The same steps I use on the other side. As you guys can see, guys, when I fade in 3 sections. I fade the right side, the back side, and then the left side. Just doing a little bit of detail work, just erasing up to that half line. And as you see, when I fade up to that half line, it just creates a shadow right in the center. And that's the shadow that we're gonna work right now when I put on the half clip. The half clip, lever open, and I go across the center of the shadow. As I go across, I lower the lever a quarter of the way, and I go back, same steps. Now I close the lever, completely shut it. I'm just focusing on the center of the shadow. As you can see, as I go across, I actually lower and lift my lever as I see accordingly. Like I said before, guys, this is not something that you learn overnight. This is something that's built up over years of just fading. The more fades you do, the better you will get. I guarantee you that. This is a repetitious business. The more you do it, the better you'll get. So again, here we move quickly to our number 1 clip, lever open, which makes it a 1.5. 1.5 blends into number 2. As I go across, I lower my lever to a number 1, and I'm just going halfway up. Once I do that, I'm going to take off my number 1 clip, and I'm going to go across with the lever open, which makes it a half, and create my second guideline. All the work that's done is below this guideline. Keep that in mind. Once I go across, I lower my lever a quarter of the way and go halfway up. Once I go across one more time, then I lower the lever all the way close, and I'm just dotting the bottom line. 3 easy steps. All we have to focus now is on that center shadow. Now I put on my half clip, lever open again, and I'm basically just raking that center shadow. As you guys can see, I go across. Once I go across, I lower my lever a quarter of the way again, and I'm just dotting that center shadow. As I go across, I lower and lift my lever. This is, again, something that you build up with time, guys. I remember when I first started fading, I would move my lever with my opposite hand, and I would be going back and forth, until I figured that working faster is working smarter. And you have to learn and adapt to using your tools the right way. The lever's right next to your thumb, and it's supposed to be used with your thumb to lift up and close. Right here, what I'm doing is just some detail work, getting the fade looking properly, and basically what I'm doing is just raking that bottom center shadow so that the fade looks nice. So quickly right here, I grab my trimmer again, my Scalatorized GTX trimmer, and what I'm doing is just basically cleaning up the bottom line. Making sure that when I go up right now with my fade, with the straight razor, that I have a place to start my shave at. This is all just detail work right here. Just going back and making sure that there's no bottom line at the bottom of the fade. I spin my customer around, I can see that there's a bit of a shadow right in the middle, as you guys can tell right there. And automatically I can tell that that's the half shadow, what I call a half shadow, because it's erased with the half clip. So what I do is I go back and just doing a little bit of detail work, cleaning it all up. The fade here is pretty much done. I'm just kind of just doing a little detail work, and what I do is I look at it, and what I use is I use my mirror. You can't really tell what I'm doing here, but what I always do is I glance into the mirror behind me and I look at the fade. Because you got to remember, once you're staring at a fade all day long, sometimes your eyes will adapt and they'll make you see what you need to see. So what you need to do is use your mirrors, look into the mirror and look at your fade, because the mirror never lies. Remember that. It's like taking a picture of a fade. I could look at a fade and think it looks perfect, and I'll take a picture of it, and then I can tell, oh man, I missed a shadow right here. You got to go back and clean it up. Same thing with the mirror. The mirror never lies. Use your mirrors. When you're fading, you should always be using your mirrors. When you're haircutting, you should be using your mirrors, basically. So this customer right here, he prefers razor fade with the straight razor. So when a customer, for me personally, when a customer wants a fade done with a straight razor, he has to request it with me, because I automatically always use a shaver on them. I feel that a shaver is closer than a straight razor. So, but some people love the feeling of having that hot lather on their neck. So, me being the barber, I don't take that away from them. If they prefer straight razor, I do it with a straight razor. But what I always do at the end is I always go back and hit it with the Bronze Series 9 just to leave it nice and smooth. So as you guys can see, I lather my customer all the way around, and what I do is I create my shave guideline with my thumb, as you saw that right there. I push the lather across, and what I do is once I push it across, I know that that's where I'm starting my razor with. Right here you'll see it again. I'll push my thumb across and create my guideline that's nice and straight. That way I know where I'm going to shave down from. See that? And when you shave down from that spot, guys, use nice long strokes. You don't need to be using little short strokes. It's one long, big, smooth stroke. That's what I always do. I also prefer sometimes to use shaved gel on this part of the haircut, especially when a customer has a lot of ingrown hairs or bumps on their neck. Then I'll definitely use shave gel instead of using aftershave. Because aftershave, shave cream, when you're using shave cream, it's like you're kind of flying blind. You can't really see where you're going. When you use shave gel, you can always see where you're going because it's clear. But when you use shave lather, it doesn't. You're kind of shaving blindly. You really can't see where you're going. But hot lather feels so much better than a shave gel. That's the big difference, and that's the difference between getting razored and not getting razored. It's just the feel of the hot lather, I think. Doing these old school razor fades like this, guys, is a lost art. A lot of people don't even do them anymore. So now that I'm done with my fade with a straight razor, you know, a straight razor, you can only go one stroke down, so that always leaves some kind of stubble there. And this is where I come in and I do a little extra detail, and I hit it with a Bronze Series 9, and that leaves it extra smooth. Leaves the fade look on point. Plus, trust me, it will make their fade last a day or two longer, because it's just all the way down to the skin completely. Also, keep in mind, some customers don't like the razor machine. They don't like it. It makes them break out, and they prefer the straight razor. So when that happens, just follow directions from your customer. I always offer the shaver at the end after I do it with a straight razor, only because I know that there's stubble still left there. So what I'm doing right here is I'm going back again with my Wall 5-star, and I'm just basically just doing a little bit of detail work and making sure that the fade is properly faded. There's no lines, there's no shadows, that it looks all nice and smooth. Me personally, I think a fade is the funnest haircut to do. I love doing this kind of fade because, number one, I can knock it out pretty quick. This haircut right here probably took me about 18 minutes. You know, it's an easy haircut. I call it a money maker because you know you can move through it quickly, and there's plenty of them to do. Me personally, I prefer to do a fade than do a taper. Even though a taper might be a little easier, I always prefer doing fades. And basically what I did right here is I started it on the left side of the head. I just move my way around, and I'm just doing detail work. I'm not using any clip. I got the half open, and I'm just, you know, basically cleaning up the center shadow. Now I put my half clip on, and I'm just hitting the center shadow that I created with a half clip again. Just going across and making sure it's all blended in properly. Worst thing you could do, guys, is leave that bottom line, that line that you cannot erase. Remember, guys, if you create your guide, your razor guide with a trimmer, then you need a trimmer to erase it. There's no way you're gonna erase a trimmer guide if you do it with the balder. Remember, the trimmer is a little bit shorter than the balder, so if you create your guide with a balder, you can erase it with a trimmer, because the trimmer is a little bit sharper and a little bit more finer of a line. And if you're doing your fades with trimmers, starting them with trimmers, then you're going to need a trimmer to erase that bottom line, because it's going to create a very, very fine line. Very, very fine line that is only erased with a trimmer or a straight razor. This haircut is pretty much done, guys. Once again, thank you for watching my channel. Please subscribe if you guys like our videos. Keep an eye out for our daily vlogs. I also got other tutorials coming out. I'm going to be doing a GTX scalatorized video coming up. Leave comments below if you guys have any questions about the haircut. You guys want to know anything about how I do it, what tools I use. Look at my description. I list all the tools that I use in these videos. Thank you again for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.